Oh my gosh. What is that? Oh my gosh, it's clear. It's clear. It's clear. Welcome back, everybody. Tonight we're going to do some lunar imaging with the Skywatcher 127 MAKSUTOV CASSEGRAIN. My name's Trevor, and you're watching Astro Pilot. Okay, it's February 19th, and it is cold. I might die from frostbite out here tonight. We've got about 3 inches of snow on the ground. It's been cloudy and snowing for the last 2 weeks. No clear skies. Tonight is the first clear night. It's going to be clear for a few hours, and I decided why not do some lunar imaging, because I haven't used this scope in a while. This is the Skywatcher 127 MAKSUTOV CASSEGRAIN. I bought it used off eBay. Has a native focal length of 1500 millimeters, and I am using the Orion Telescope's 2X Shorty Barlow. This will double the magnification of the eyepiece or camera. In this case, the camera. Speaking of cameras, this is the camera I'm using tonight. It is the ASI 120 MCS color camera from ZWO. Has a tiny little sensor in there. Great for planetary and lunar imaging. I want to try this out on some deep sky imaging as well. This is the ZWO ASI 120 MCS color camera. Nice little planetary and all-around imaging camera, so I'll be happy to test this thing out. I've only used it once on Mars back a few months ago. This is only the second time I've used this, so I'll be happy to test it out again. So this is the back of the MAKSUTOV CASSEGRAIN here. It has your CASSEGRAIN SCT style optical tube here. So with that, you will just insert the Barlow. So this is the Orion Shorty 2X Barlow. Nice little cheap Barlow to use for imaging. It's a high quality, but for a low price. So we will put that in there like that. And then the ZWO 120 MCS will go in there just like that. And we can rotate that however we want for the image frame. And the focuser is right down here for the telescope. So the nice thing about this camera here, it can be used for almost anything. Planetary, lunar, and deep sky. I'm really excited to test this out. I want to test it out with my William Optics Zenithstar 61 on some deep sky stuff here in the next little bit. But the really nice thing, it has a built-in IR cut filter in it, so you don't have to worry about having to use a filter. If I use it for deep sky, I will not be able to use a light pollution filter yet. If it works for deep sky, I will get an 1.25 inch light pollution filter probably. But this will majorly increase your focal length for any telescope, because it has this itty bitty tiny sensor right there. You can see how small that is. This is basically the color version of my guide scope, the ASI 120mm Mini. So really excited about testing this camera out tonight. All of this is sitting on top of the Skywatcher Star Adventure. This is the little mount that could. I'm always impressed on how this mount works, even with this big of a payload. It's about an 8.5 pound setup with this big scope here, within the limits of the 11 pound payload capacity of the mount, and it still does really well. Can't do any deep sky with it just because the extreme focal length and the tracking accuracy, but I would like to try some guiding out on it sometime. But tough little mount, and it can still do the job for lunar and planetary imaging with this big scope. Speaking of lunar imaging, when we want to track the moon, we will set it to lunar tracking mode, just like that, and that will light up and you see the little moon symbol there, and that allows lunar tracking because the moon moves at a different speed than the Earth's rotation, and it has to have a different tracking speed. You still have to polar align and everything, but it has a different tracking mode for lunar. To balance this whole setup here, I've had to slide this declination bracket down to the maximum to allow me to still use the one counterweight and the ball head for extra weight. But it balances out good, just enough to counter all the weight, so definitely works out just perfectly for this mount. Weighs about 8.5 pounds, so still within limits, and it works well. So a little bit more info on the scope here. This is the Skywatcher 127 MAKSUTOV CASSEGRAIN. It has an aperture of 127 millimeters, that's about 5 inches, and a focal length of 1500. So that's a really big focal length. And with this camera, it's going to give me almost a 3000 millimeter focal length. So we're really zoomed in. That's when you're going to notice atmospheric discrepancies like seeing conditions and the turbulence within the atmosphere to make it really wavy and less desirable imaging conditions. So really powerful scope. And I got a great deal on it. I bought it for about $200 off eBay used, perfect condition. Came with this red dot finder. So and it works well even with that much focal length to find your objects. So really cool little setup here. As you can see, there's snow on the ground and it is cold. It's going to be a low of 9 degrees Fahrenheit tonight. So I'm going to be freezing my hands tonight. Hopefully the gear can handle it. The camera, supposedly the operating temperature for the camera is -5 degrees Celsius, and that's around 20 degrees Fahrenheit, so we'll see how it does. But I'll probably keep the camera inside until I come back out. But really cold and really snowy, so we'll see how it goes. Snow dog, your snow dog. Woo. Okay everybody, it's February 21st, 3 days later from the other night. The snow's gone and it's a lot warmer. It was too cold for the camera and clouds rolled in anyway the other night, and it was just a bad setup because it was way too cold for the camera to even operate, and the clouds rolled in, so it was just not going for me that night. I was not very happy, but tonight it should work out. It's supposedly going to be clear all night. We do have some thin clouds moving this way, but I think they're going to skirt north of us. We have an 80% illuminated moon tonight, so should go well, hopefully. We do have some thin clouds coming in. Hopefully they'll pass soon, so... Okay everybody, so it's dark. I've polar lined my mount, and now it's time to frame up the moon in Sharp Cap. I had some connection issues with my camera, but I got it worked out. It turned out I was using a USB 3.0 port instead of a 2.0, and therefore it wouldn't connect right. So I got it working, and we are good to go. So let's get it lined up on the moon. The thin clouds have sort of dissipated, so they shouldn't be a big issue tonight. But everything's looking good so far, so let's hop into Sharp Cap and get everything framed up and start shooting. Let's do some lunar surface exploring. Okay everybody, so I have my camera connected to Sharp Cap on the laptop here, and I already have the scope pointed in the general direction of the moon. All I have to do is get it in the red dot finder, and I already have it on lunar tracking mode, so we are all set. There's the red dot. There's the moon. You can tell it's out of focus, so we'll just use these slew buttons to get it back up on the screen there. So there is what looks to be a crater on the moon. So now we'll just get it focused, and it should come into view pretty good here. And there we have it. Look at that. Is that not amazing? So we're going to move these slew buttons here on the Star Adventure to move around and look and see what we can see on the moon. So that's up, that's down and up, and use the declination knob to go over. You can see all those craters on that termination zone on the moon. Now we'll go up and over. And you see all that awesome detail. There's Plato Crater. And there is Kepler Crater right there. There's Kepler Crater. That's cool. So I'm gonna go back down to that one crater we focused on and get some shots of it. So for lunar imaging like this, I think that's a good frame right there. So for lunar imaging, we take video files. Let me turn this light out. This camera shoots in AVI format, and that allows you to put it in a program called Auto Stackert, and it stacks the video into one single image. So to start capturing the image, we will go to Capture and Start Image, and I usually just do the unlimited and just cut it off whenever I want to, so we'll hit Start. And now the camera is capturing what you're seeing on the screen now. And that'll be a 2 or 3 minute long video. And this camera really uses a lot of space too with this high speed camera. Usually takes about 10 or 20 gigabytes per video or more. So we're going to capture about 2,000 or 3,000 frames on that target right there. You can see some really nice detail in those shadows in that crater. It's really cool. So after this, we'll move on to Copernicus crater. So this is lunar imaging. This is my first time imaging the moon with this camera, color camera. So coming up on 3,000 frames, and we'll stop it there. wind does not help. The slightest breeze makes the camera all shaky. So there's 3000. We'll go ahead and stop that exposure. And now we can go on, and so I'm going to go up to Copernicus crater now. So we just use the slew buttons on the Star Adventure and use the declination knob. That's some really cratery area there. Alrighty, coming up on Copernicus crater. And there it is. That's a nice crater. We'll slew it up just a tad, get it in the center of the frame. And that's about right there. Well, alright, now we will start capturing that. Planetary and lunar imaging is a lot easier, simpler than deep sky, just because of the fact that you don't have to have super precise tracking. Alright, start capture. And now we're shooting Copernicus crater. I have the camera settings at 20.8 milliseconds and auto gain. Everything else is default, so there's a little gust of wind shaking the camera. But I might turn the gain down just a tad. I might just leave it as is though. But lunar and planetary imaging are a lot simpler than deep sky, just because you don't have to have precise tracking, and you're shooting video, and you don't have to have a super nice camera to do it. It's just more user friendly than deep sky. It's easier to do, but it's definitely a whole different experience than deep sky astrophotography. Alright, we'll go ahead and stop that capture. I think it's to 3000. Alright. I'm going to do some more looking around on the moon. Turn that exposure down a little bit. Go. There, that crater. Okay, that's a cool crater. I'll focus that a little bit more. Capture that. Still it's just a tad bit of thin cloud up there, but it's not really affecting the image. Still getting good footage of it, so. Okay everybody, so I just wrapped up my lunar imaging session. I got several targets, craters and stuff on the moon, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video on lunar imaging with the MAKSUTOV CASSEGRAIN. I want to thank you guys so much. We have grown so much. I know I say this at the end of every video, but I still just can't believe it. We're over 400 subscribers now, and approaching 1,000 views on almost every video, and I love all your guys' comments and everything, so I just can't believe this channel has grown so much. So thank you guys so much for watching these videos. I hope you learned some things from them as well. Again, thank you guys for watching this video, and thanks for all the support. And until next time, clear skies, and thanks for watching Astro Pilot.